And today, is Trump's reelection our Julius Caesar moment? Despite being a felon, Donald Trump prevailed to become the 47th, nay, the 45th U.S. president. He broke a few laws along the way, 34 felony convictions to be exact, for the hush money scheme to secure porn star Stormy Daniels' silence rather than chance a public disclosure of their sexual affair that could have imperiled his 2016 electability. Since Trump's reelection, Judge Juan Merchan ordered an unconditional discharge of all 34 felony counts, rendering the conviction punishment-free for Trump. No jail time, no probation, no nothing. Judge Merchan stated he sought to balance Trump's need to govern, the Supreme Court's immunity ruling, the respect due a jury verdict, and the public's expectation that no one is above the law. But there is this morsel of justice. Trump will have a felony conviction on his record. I suppose he is the only person who can honestly say a felony conviction on his record is no problem for him. Meanwhile, special counsel Jack Smith filed a motion to dismiss both the January 6, 2020 election interference case and the government documents case against Trump. This is no exoneration, however, for the crimes charged by the special counsel, however. Smith wrote, quote, "As the office explained in its dismissal motions and in the report, the department's view that the Constitution prohibits Mr. Trump's indictment and prosecution while he's in office is categorical and does not turn on the gravity of the crimes charged, the strength of the government's proof, or the merits of the prosecution, all of which the office stands fully behind," unquote. Leaving no doubt in Trump's guilt, Smith affirmed, quote, "Indeed, but for Mr. Trump's election and eminent return to the presidency, the office assessed that the admissible evidence was sufficient to obtain and sustain a conviction at trial," unquote. Former Attorney General Merrick Garland released the first volume of Smith's report regarding Trump's alleged efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 election, but withheld the second volume related to classified documents. Even though, for Trump, both cases were dismissed, it still allows charges to be refiled after he finishes his second term as president. We most likely, however, will never see Trump tried or sentenced for his alleged illegal actions. And although Trump stated in an interview with conservative talk show host Hugh Hewitt before re-election that he would fire Jack Smith within 2 seconds of being sworn in as president, Smith separated from the Department of Justice on January 10th, just 10 days before Trump's inauguration. The Georgia Court of Appeals removed Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis from the Georgia election interference case against Trump and other co-defendants, stating in its ruling, quote, "This is the rare case in which disqualification is mandated and no other remedy will suffice to restore public confidence in the integrity of these proceedings," unquote. But for now, Trump still faces 10 counts in the Georgia election interference case. On top of all this, there is the potential impact of the U.S. Supreme Court ruling last July that the president has some immunity from legal accountability. It all renders President-elect Trump above the law, plain and simple. Imperator Gaius Donald Trump Augustus. Julius Caesar violated Roman law when he and his legion army crossed the Rubicon River from Gaul into Italy. Caesar's actions triggered a civil war in the Roman Empire as far afield as Spain, Greece, and North Africa, pitting Caesar against Pompey. As we know, Caesar was victorious, named emperor, and granted all the power and privilege of a dictator, but only for 10 years initially. The Roman Senate wanted Caesar to quell the very chaos created by his act of insurrection, and then return to the simple life of a Roman citizen and great Roman general. The problem with a temporary dictatorship is curtailing that unlimited power once the social upheaval is quelled. So the Roman senators had no choice but to curry favor with the all-powerful Caesar starting day one, and they did to the point of eventually anointing Caesar as dictator for life. There are striking similarities and a major difference between what transpired in 49 BC and 2072 years later with Trump's election in 2024 AD. Caesar had to incite and fight a civil war to literally conquer all Roman institutions throughout the Roman Empire, while Trump only had to threaten a bloodbath if he wasn't elected to intimidate institutions, such as the Justice Department on both federal and state levels, putting his court cases in suspended animation or dropped altogether, even before inauguration, perhaps already establishing his dictatorship in the process. Placing yourself above the law is the very bedrock of a dictatorship. Once the hard part of becoming all-powerful in executive authority and unaccountable for any illegality has been accomplished, all else is easily achievable, and you wake up one day a true dictator. I am the state. In addition to the Supreme Court, another accomplice to this ultimate dictatorial power grab by an individual is, like the Roman Senate, our own United States Congress. The policy circle states, quote, "Today, this trend of ceding more power to the executive to allow the government to take quick action on behalf of the nation, and the trend of presidents holding on to expanded powers as time goes on to help them fulfill campaign promises, continues," unquote. It is more than evident, for instance, in the complete abdication of oversight responsibilities by Congress to function as a check on executive power. This has come to be known, according to Policy Circle, as the unitary executive theory, which says that any decision that the president makes regarding the executive branch would not be subject to any sort of review or oversight. Richard Nixon put it most succinctly when he said, "When the president does it, that means it is not illegal by definition." Well, what could push us over the edge? Well, the Russians are coming. The Russians are coming along with the Chinese and Iranians. However, on the international stage, the puppet master himself and Trump's chief supporter until recently, Vladimir Putin, said in 2021, quote, "As a citizen of the former Soviet Union, I'll tell you about the problem with empires. They believe they are so powerful that they can afford minor mistakes. But problems accumulate, and a moment comes when they are no longer manageable. The United States is confidently, firmly marching down the same path as the Soviet Union," unquote. Nikolai Patrushev, a former director of Russia's Federal Security Service and one of Mr. Putin's key advisors, said of the United States in a 2023 interview, quote, "Projects like Black Lives Matter and the rampant promotion of transgender theories are aimed at the spiritual degradation of a population already in a state of apathy. Ordinary citizens won't lift a finger to preserve America's unity, knowing they mean nothing to their own government," unquote. And in a recent New York Times editorial by Russian journalist Mikhail Zygar, who defected to the United States, he wrote, quote, "To the Kremlin, the Democratic Party has become excessively dogmatic, resembling the Communist Party of the Soviet Union in its final decade, an arrogant steward of a bankrupt belief system stumbling toward a fall," unquote. And this is not just talk. The Kremlin is doing everything within its power to propagate this propaganda on social media. We'll see if a dictatorship knows how to make one out of its enemy in order to destroy the enemy. All the pieces are in place today in one of the oldest democracies and greatest republics of modern times to be transformed into an absolute dictatorship. It could be that we react to a Trump dictatorship like those local Tokyo Chick restaurant patrons in Pasadena who demanded the Trump flag in the window be removed. Or for us, will it be Elon Musk's fervent salute, "Hail Trump," or Tokyo Chick? Oh, and one more thing before I let you go. What does a dictator do on day one or week one? Does he pardon all those that committed crimes on his behalf, especially if they pose no threat to his power? Trump just did with the January 6th insurrectionists, and this is just the beginning.